Hello friends. One of the questions that I got after my last video on chapter 6 of The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard was, and I'm reading it, if we're supposed to focus our attention on the wish fulfilled, doesn't that make us attached? That's the question, basically paraphrased. And I think that it is such an amazing question because a lot of people treat attention and attachment as the same thing, and they're not. In fact, I would argue that your attention is going somewhere regardless. So the real question isn't whether you're paying attention. The question is, what are you paying attention to? But before we get into it, I just want to say hello to all my newbies and welcome back. This is the channel where we are learning how to make our miracles manifest by reprogramming our mind, shifting our subconscious, and more importantly, doing the identity work to embody and become the version of ourselves that has a manifestation. So let's get into this whole idea of attention versus attachment. So in chapter 6 of The Power of Awareness, which is inside this reader, so grab yours if you want to hang out with me and study this amazing book. In that chapter, Neville was talking all about focusing our attention on the manifestation. And what he is really talking about is embodying the state of the manifestation. It's not that you're focusing on it as if you're thinking of it. You're thinking of your manifestation from it or from the state. And those are the key differences. So I encourage you to go back and watch that video. So when many people hear the whole thing about detaching from the outcome, right, in manifestation, what they are hearing is don't think about it, don't focus on it, don't imagine it, don't desire it. But that's not what Neville was talking about. And that's not what we mean by not attaching or detaching from the outcome. And I don't think that's what Neville was talking about as well. So let's get into it. I feel like point number one is your attention is always working, right? Whether we're distracted and we get our attention switched off, right? Whether we are doom scrolling on our phone, we're giving our attention somewhere. It doesn't mean that we're attached to the thing, but our attention is always being placed somewhere, and our attention is so powerful. But one of the things I want you to understand is our attention, especially when it's directed, it's never neutral. Our mind is always focusing on something. And in fact, you can tell because we rarely wake up. Most of us cannot wake up even in a blank state, right? Or having a blank mind. Many of us try meditation and we still can't get to a blank slate. Our mind is constantly moving. So some examples is just that we're always thinking about something. We're thinking about bills. We're thinking about our friends. We're thinking about our family. We're thinking about our kids. We're thinking about our lover. We're always thinking and focusing our attention on something. And some of us are even replaying conversations that didn't go right, or we're doing our plan Bs, or making sure that we're thinking about the worst case scenarios. Again, we are putting our attention somewhere. I want you to remember that your attention is going somewhere, whether you're directing it or not. So I'd like you to think about, if I'm going to use my attention and I'm going to use my imagination, why not use it in service of the things that I actually want? So one of the things that Neville always says is attention is forceful in proportion to the narrowness of its focus. So here he wasn't talking about just being positive, just faking it till you make it. I don't really think that's what he was talking about. I think he was talking about being very deliberate about where we are shifting our attention to, being very deliberate about our energy, our state, our embodiment, who we are becoming, where we're spending our thoughts. I think that's the point of the whole attention factor, is the embodiment of the state. And I believe that us seeking to direct our attention to embody the state is very, very different than being attached or even clinging to an outcome. So let's talk about, I feel like, point number 2. What attention really feels like, right? What does attention really feel like? To me, as I've been saying, attention is embodiment. Attention is identity. Attention is becoming. I think when we are very focused on directing our attention, we're thinking about things like, how would I feel if I already trusted myself? How would I show up if I already felt chosen, especially in the areas of relationship? How would I move through my day if I already felt abundant? And notice those are also questions or affirmations. I think that how we focus our attention does indeed shift our behavior. If I am thinking about myself as being an amazing business owner, an amazing entrepreneur, it is going to affect the state that I embody. It's going to affect my behavior. I'm going to start behaving and directing my attention on all the activities that would suit me being a successful entrepreneur. That has happened, right? I started doing, the more that I wanted to build my businesses, the more that I wanted to have my book business, my manifestation coaching business, and even law, I started spending my time in that way. I started connecting with more people that are doing similar things. I started making plans that are that way. Again, I shifted my intention, so of course my actions and my embodiment follows. And I believe here, attention always asks, who am I being? So let's distinguish attention from attachment, and let's think about how attachment feels. Because I think that's how you'll be able to know, even in your body, which one you're doing, right? To me, attachment feels heavy, right? It feels like kind of like a burden. It's like sitting on us. Attachment feels like clingy. Attachment feels needy. And sometimes attachment can even feel anxious because you don't have it yet. You want it, right? I want it. I want this SP. I want this money. I want this job. I want this house. I want this whatever. And it's like this needy clinginess, as distinguished from attention, meaning I am directing my energy. I'm directing my focus on becoming the person and embodying the state of the version of me who has a manifestation. They feel dramatically different. And you might want to pause the video right now and think about the thing that you want to have and see on its own how it feels if you're clinging to it, or if you're directing your attention and you're feeling in your body to actually embodying that state of it. So to me, attachment isn't focused on the state. Attachment is focused on the absence or the lack of the thing. And we can feel it in our body, especially when we're paying attention. And oftentimes, especially I feel like in the areas of love and money, which hit certain kind of points for many of us, attachment says, I need this to happen before I can feel okay. Okay, so let me give you a good example. Let's say that you desire, or one of your desires is to manifest becoming a runner. It's not really my desire, but I think it's a great one. So you want to become a runner. Your attention is going to be focused on becoming the runner. You're going to train. You're going to start to identify yourself as a runner. You're going to start to make actions and choices and behaviors that align with you being a runner, right? You're probably going to go get some of those running shoes. You're going to get running outfits. You might even download some of those apps on your phone for becoming a runner. You're beginning to align yourself with the identity of a runner. And I would argue that you're beginning to think like a runner. But the same person that's doing all of that, that's focusing their attention on becoming a runner, they're not sitting around thinking to themselves, am I a runner yet? I wish I was a runner. I wish I was a runner. I'm never going to be a runner. One state or one version of themselves, right, is about embodiment. And the other one is about seeking some sort of validation or focusing our attention on the fact that we aren't there yet. So let's talk about the real danger in this whole attention versus attachment discussion. I think the danger is that you're so focused on becoming attached to something that you stop directing your attention. And usually what happens is that you don't actually detach. Instead, you're attaching to your doubts and your fears and your lack and your limitations and the state of not having it. And then you're even focusing on all your fears or the circumstances or the delays That's where you're focusing your attention. Most people aren't detached. They're simply attached to the reasons why it can't happen. So one thing that Neville always says is that you are already that which you want to be. And if that's true, if you are already that which you want to be, meaning there's already a version of you, maybe there's already another timeline of you having your manifestation, your job isn't to work at getting it. Remember, your job is to work at becoming it, or your job is simply to become it, to shift your attention to the version of you who has it, to shift your attention to embodying that identity of the person who has the love they want, the person who has the house they want, the person that has the job they want, the bank account, the travels, whatever it is. That's where you place your attention. So if you're worried that focusing your attention is going to make you attached, I want you to remember this. Attachment and attention are not the same thing. Attention to me is selecting your energy and choosing who you are becoming. Attachment, on the other hand, is needing something outside of yourself to feel whole or to feel okay. And I want you to remember that your attention is going somewhere anyway. The question is whether you are intentionally directing it or letting old conditioning direct it for you. Because if left on autopilot, most of our minds don't actually drift toward possibility. Most of us, our minds drift towards doubt and negativity. So I'm encouraging you to give your attention to the version of you that has your manifestation. Or in other words, give your attention to the person that you want to become. Give your attention to the state that you want to embody. And don't confuse that with needing that outcome in order to be okay. That would be attachment. And needing that outcome and directing your attention are two very different things. I want you to remember that most people aren't detached. They're attached to the reasons why their manifestation can't happen. And if you need help focusing your attention or becoming the person who has your manifestation, then I encourage you to book a one-on-one or join me in our new school community called Make Miracles Manifest. I'll see you in the next video.